Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Plate. Good evening, and I am your host, Nick Sakalis, coming to you live from the WGBB studios over here in lovely Merrick, New York. And it looks like it's going to be another crazy week. I might have talked too soon as far as the weather was concerned last week, as far as how lucky we've been. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to backtrack. We have been very lucky, and just because we're going to have a messy day tomorrow doesn't mean that we haven't been overall very fortunate. And we'll deal with a little bit of messiness tomorrow, but they're saying it's going to be nasty. So if you're out driving or you have to be on the road tomorrow, be very, very careful. And hopefully you could do most of your stuff from indoors. That being said, I'm going to change up the pace a little bit, and I'm going to address something that I've been neglecting a little bit over the past few shows, and that's answering some email and private messages that were sent to me through Facebook, through Instagram, through emails. People are actually randomly to me and calling me and asking me questions. So I'm going to try to address as many as possible, and I'm going to try to at least, if not every show, periodically, at least a couple times a month, try to actually answer some of these questions and try to give a little bit of a better understanding to everybody, because I do always respond through email or through private messaging if you choose to do that, through Facebook and that kind of thing. But sometimes people want to have their questions addressed on the show itself. So that's what I'm going to try to be doing from this point forward. So I'm going to just jump right into a couple of them that I pulled out this past week. And the first comes from Eric from Exit Realty in Queens, New York. And Eric asked me, I'm a brand new agent coming into the business less than 3 months. I'm about to do my first closing. Congratulations, Eric, for doing your first closing and doing it in that short of a period, because I'll be quite honest with you, I know quite a few agents that go through the first year and they don't even have one closing. So bravo and kudos on having the first closing within 3 months of being licensed. And Eric's question is, Eric's question is, what should I do as a closing gift? Okay, so in order to answer that question, you have to think of it in multiple different ways, because that's something that I struggled from the beginning. What's the proper thing to give as a closing gift to a client or a seller that you're working with, or a buyer that you're working with? And it's something that I struggle with up until this day too, because every scenario is different, and I don't like to be cookie cutter. You know, you have a lot of people and a lot of agent brokers that have a certain type of gift that they give out every time. They might do a bulk ordering and just give the same thing. Maybe it'll be a cutting board or something like that with their initials, or a corkscrew, or I don't know, all different things that they do. And a lot of times people like to brand their items so they can remember them by, and that's nice. But for me personally, I don't feel that's a great closing gift if it doesn't bring any value to your client. I think number one, you have to determine, is it a seller that you're giving the closing gift to, or is it a buyer? Okay, so if it's a buyer, take a look at what's going on with the house that they're purchasing. That's what I like to usually do. In other words, if it's a fixer-upper, or if it's a house that needs a lot of TLC and that kind of thing, a Home Depot or Lowe's gift card goes a long way, because you know that they're going to need it and they're going to use it right away. maybe a Sherwin-Williams gift certificate or something, something that's going to give them value and they'll be actually able to use. Let's say it's a scenario where the house is mint, they have nothing to do in the house, there's no cost to that. Maybe you turn around and get them a nice gift certificate to a local restaurant, especially if they're moving from another area that they haven't tried anything yet. It's a great way to introduce them to a local business and to have them have a really nice meal in a place that they'll enjoy. Again, you have to be mindful and kind of know your clients when you're doing something like that. Because, for example, if they're vegetarians and you give them a gift certificate to a steakhouse, that's not really going to help you in any way. So, just like everything else in the business, you should definitely listen to your clients. And, it's anybody that's been doing this long enough and builds a good communication with their client knows that it's most of the time, besides talking business, besides talking real estate and that kind of thing, your clients tend to open up and kind of tell you things that kind of give you indications of their, lifestyles and that kind of thing. So, take that into consideration when you're doing something like that. Maybe they're really into fitness. And maybe as you're going through the whole process, they keep talking about what gyms are in the area or that kind of thing. Maybe you get them a membership over in a gym, depending on what the cost is and if it makes sense for you to give a closing gift like that. Because you have to also consider the price point of the house that you're selling and determining the closing gift that you'll be giving on that as well. Typically you don't give the same kind of closing gift on a $100,000 house that you give on a $2 million house. It just, you just have to keep that in mind. I know that I'm not giving you a lot of detailed type of information on this, but at the same time, you really didn't give me much to run off of on this question. So, I'm trying to give you options, and that's all I'm looking to do on this. But again, great job getting yourself to have a closing within 3 months of getting your license. Depending on where you are in Queens is a wild market, so you're on a really good start. And as far as the closing gift, just keep your eyes open as far as and maybe feel out your clients as far as something that they possibly like. I always cater it to give function and value to the person, whatever gift I give. If I know somebody's a big whiskey drinker, I'll get them a nice bottle of whiskey. I mean, it really depends on what they're into and that kind of thing. So there's no straight answer on what is actually the best item to give, but you have to be very intelligent about the way you approach it. And you don't want to get too personal with the gift as well, unless obviously you know the person and that kind of thing. You want to keep a nice professional type of situation going on. But all right, Eric, that was great answering that question, and I did send you an email as well, so look out for that. It was a little more detailed than what I've done on the radio. Again, whatever emails I'll be sending out to anybody will be a lot more detailed than what they'll be on the radio, unless they're calling me directly and I have a conversation with them. And obviously, just like always, you could call us live at 516-623-1240. Again, the number is 516-623-1240. And on to the next question by Mary S. And here's the thing, I'm not going to give the full name of everybody that I am calling, unless they specifically ask me. I don't know if they want to be put on the spot, or I don't know if they want to have it disclosed who it is that they're dealing with, or the property, that kind of thing. So I'm avoiding using actual full names, and I'm avoiding using addresses unless I'm directed otherwise through the message that I get. So if you do want me to give the full name or your full company name or a specific property that we're talking about, just make a notation and let me know that it's okay for us to talk about that. The last thing I want to do is have a conversation about a specific property, or have a conversation specifically speaking about an agent or broker or a homeowner or whoever sent me their information, and put them in an awkward predicament of getting that information released. So that being said, we got Mary S. from East Meadow, New York. Don't have an actual brokerage that she works with, but she is a broker or agent. And her question is, I'm sorry that I'm actually being a little bit all over the place. It's your typical Monday. My phone has been ringing off the hook, even though I have it on vibrate. And I'm just trying to keep up with a couple quick texts as they're coming in, because I have something of urgency. And that's the one thing. You have to be able to multitask in this business. If you're not being able to do multiple things at the same time, you're going to have a real problem being able to keep up and being good at what you are. So yes, I am doing a live radio show. I know it's normal protocol not to have our phones on it. I usually turn it off, but when you have something of high importance that you're working on, you make sure that you do not shut that phone, and you try to be as responsive as humanly possible, because sometimes delay of 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, whatever the case is, can make the difference between making a sale or not making a sale. And that being said, last time I'm interrupting my thoughts on speaking of Mary S. from East Meadow, and Mary's question to me is, I'm thinking about moving to another real estate brokerage. What should I think about when I'm actually moving to my new place? Okay. That's actually something that's really critical as far as when somebody makes their move. And there's no given formula on what's right for everybody, but here's the things that you have to look at. Okay, because the industry's become rampant with a lot of these discount brokerages that are giving very favorable splits for real estate agents and the brokers that are affiliating with them. However, they're not giving a lot to the agent as far as coverage, marketing, exposure, that kind of thing. They're kind of leaving it a la carte and leaving the agent to be able to do have all expenses on them, and having very limited help from the actual company itself. And I'm not going to say which companies do that and which don't. It's something that you want to go through the interview process and kind of compare apples to apples, because like I said, I'm not here to call individuals out, and I'm not here to actually call individual brokerages out. But here's what I will say. If you're going to be looking at it from this point of view, if you're going to be looking at strictly from a financial point of view, and you don't care about any services that are being given to you, and maybe you're doing this as a hobby, you might as well go to one of these discount brokerages and make whatever you make on that 1 or 2 deals a year that you make, and be content with that. The only thing about that is be prepared to spend a little extra money out of your pocket as far as for the marketing and exposing your properties, if you're listing properties publicly, because you won't get much out of them. And you won't really be doing much of a service to the homeowner if as far as selling the house. I mean, putting a sign on the lawn and saying, "Here, come here and buy it," is one thing, and once upon a time that did work because you didn't have other options. But because there are other options and there are other marketing vehicles, you definitely want to be able to put yourself in the best light, the best exposure, and put the houses that you represent under that same scope. You want to make sure that you're in the best position and you're putting the homes in the best position to sell. So again, if you're looking at it from that point of view, maybe that's what you do. And again, uh, all the companies have become extremely competitive because of the kind of market we're having, and you'll be very surprised as far as the offerings you get, especially if you're more seasoned and you have a better reputation and you do a certain type of volume of business that comes with you. You get much better offers than what you do with having no experience as well. So, I don't know, Mary, how many years you've been in the business. I don't know what type of volume you do as far as business-wise, and I don't know what your time schedule is of how to go and conduct it. But here's the way I look at it. If you are serious about doing real estate and it's more than a hobby and you have it as a career path, I strongly suggest you go with the larger scale companies. I'm not going to be biased and say fantastic things about the company I work with. Everybody knows that I'm with Coldwell Banker, and the one thing I will say about them, they have a phenomenal educational process, and they do have a lot of tools that do help a lot of individuals that are maybe floundering, or maybe they're new to the business, or maybe just need a re-education, because a lot of times people start out with the little mom and pop shops, and I'm no different than that. I started with a little mom and pop shop out in Astoria when I first started working, a couple decades ago. So that happens, and sometimes you grow to have bad habits or you learn the wrong way. It helps going with one of these larger scale companies or getting the right education. And here's the thing, even if you're with a mom and pop shop or a smaller outfit and they're not giving you the education, you should take the ownership and go out and take a continual ed and specific courses to help advance yourself. Don't expect to just be given whatever's given free or whatever's part of the company's package to be given to you. Go out and get it. Don't wait for a handout. But like I was saying, Coldwell Banker has a really great program as far as helping with new agent orientation. Seasoned agents have great classes that they could take as well. And, it's something that I think somebody should definitely consider. Besides that, having a great exposure is huge. The reason why the past two companies that I've been with have been Douglas Elliman and Coldwell Banker are because they're the ones that had the largest exposure for what I needed. Okay, so when I was with Douglas Elliman, they had great exposure in New York and the East Coast, and that was great and it was key. The one thing that I was missing, and I never really got a good piece of it, was the international and national exposure. And there's a lot to be said for that. When you have somebody that's relocating out of Texas or selling their place in New York and moving to Texas or vice versa, or whatever the case is, it's great to know that you have offices throughout the country, like again in Texas, and you'll be able to cooperate with another individual in that other state that's part of the same company, and you'll be able to help the client have a very smooth and easy experience. And that's the one thing that I felt that was lacking in my former company that I was with. Not that there was anything wrong with them, but that was one of the things that I thought was lacking. And that was something that my current company provides for me that I like, and it gives me more value. There's a whole list of other things of what one company has better than the others, but the thing is, I suggest you interview with multiple companies, and you go out there and you see what everybody has to offer, and see if they could give it to you in writing, actually, what they're offering, what they'll do for you. Now, obviously, your splits, that's where it starts on what you're doing, and compare it. See where you're getting the most value. And the other thing that I will say is location also makes a big difference as well. Uh, I tend to like to have an office that's close to home. Although my business is dispersed all around, and everybody that knows me, I do business in Queens, I do business in the city, in Brooklyn, throughout Nassau, Suffolk. My team works everywhere, and I work everywhere, and I'm constantly driving everywhere. But the one thing that I like to have is my primary base of operations, the office that I use the most. And I say that the most because being with a larger company that has multiple offices, you have the luxury of being able to use one of those other offices when you have to meet a client in a specific area that might be more convenient for them. But the one place that I'd like to keep as my chief base of operations would be as close to home as possible. And the reason for that is, one, I'm at home and I need to run to the office to do something really quick. It's close for me. I tend to like to end my day and do my catch up and emails and follow ups for the day that just passed, and set myself up for the previous day at the end of the day. And it helps when it's closer to home than when it's not. So that's one of the things I also like to take into consideration. And the other thing is, I would actually talk to agents from that same company that you're prospecting to join, and see what their thoughts are. And not everybody's going to be honest, and not everybody's going to be lending of information. A lot of people did want to be helpful, but then you'll have a big segment of people that will be helpful and will give you honest feedback. And I think that's really important. You should always see what other people have to say about that, about the company that you're thinking about joining. And it doesn't hurt if you actually know a couple of people in that office as well, and they'll give you even more honest feedback. So again, I'm getting all these questions asked to me that really don't have a singular answer. I wish I had a question that would come to me that has one straight answer, but I really see it that you have to basically be open-minded and look at it from a different spectrum as far as answers, and cater it to the individual's needs. Thank you again, Mary, for sending me out there, and I'm going to send you an email list. I'll send you a list on my email providing a couple of places that I think fit your needs, especially because you're in East Meadow, and see what could work for you as far as possible fits. That being said, again, don't take my word for it only. Research it online as well. See what kind of reviews they have. Do a Google search. Same way everybody's been doing Google search on people and house and this. Do a Google search on the company that you're thinking about going to. I think it's really important. Okay, we're going to answer just one more email right now, and then we're going to dive into a couple other things. But this is an email that I'm going to answer because I'm actually not going to disclose who it's coming from, because it's a specific vendor. But this company is asking me in regards to sponsoring the show. Okay, so this is something that I've been playing around with for the past almost 2 years now. As far as we're going to have a show that's going to have sponsors on it or not, and any type of advertising as well. And I've struggled with that thought because I don't want it to be a show that's an infomercial. Everybody that listens to the show and I've been fortunate to have as an audience, for the most part, have seen the value as being as non-biased as possible, and basically giving my thoughts on anything from actual things going on with the market to vendors to anything without holding back. And I want to continue doing that. So my answer is I'm going to open it up to sponsorship, and we will allow some advertising. However, I will be selecting the individuals that I think would be right fits for the show, myself, and I'm not going to be putting on any type of companies or vendors or products that I feel that will do a disservice to my audience. If it's not something I'm like, in other words, if it's one of these get rich quick schemes or something like that, that I feel like it's a scam or something like that, honestly, I don't want to be affiliated with that, so I will not have it as a sponsor. But let's say you're like a local hardware store or something that affects that, I'll be more open to, or something that affects. So here's the thing: if you want to actually be a sponsor of the show, I'm actually, for the Facebook Live audience, I will be putting in an email that they can send me the inquiries directly. And for the radio audience, I will tell you the name of the email right now. So the email, you can send all inquiries and anything that has to do with that to, it would be real estate plate radio at gmail.com, and it's spelled the way it sounds. That's real estate plate radio at gmail.com. So if you're having crazy, and that email is the same one I receive questionnaires from and comments and everything. So I do look at that at the end of the day, every day. So I will be responsive. You'll get a turnaround response within 24 hours, if not quicker than that. And I just whoever sending that, just send me your contact information, and we'll have a discussion about how you would like to get involved with the show. Might be that time now to be able to set something like that up. So I'm going to actually put that into the comments right now for the Facebook audience to be able to use. And we'll see what happens. Like I said, that's something that I've been partially torn by. I'm sure that the network would love me to have some sponsors on the show, but we'll see what happens. It's one of those sponsor requests. Okay. See, that's the other thing. I'm also getting live PMs that are coming to me on the show while it's going on, and it sometimes could get overwhelming. For some reason, a lot of people, they don't like to call in, and they like to just send me text or personal messages on social media, and Um, like I said, I try to answer as fast as I can, but honestly, I can't. I can keep up on sometimes on the level of that they're coming in on, and that's why sometimes you catch me doing pauses, and you might even see that on the radio or on the live cast. Yeah, I take a quick pause just to read what's going on. And again, I don't have any broadcast or any specific training in radio, so I'm basically trying to um, learn this process as I'm going. So I'm sorry for the bumps along the road as far as any kind of possible pauses that you might see from me, but I'll try to do it I'll try to be as mindful and as um, intelligent about doing all this at the same time while running the show. So that being said, we'll continue with emails and answering messages next week. And before I forget, just wanted to mention that although we will be here next week, we will have a small gap as far as the show running. I will be away from the 2 weeks of Monday, the 25th of February, and I will not be here for March the 4th, and then we'll be back right after that. So you'll miss me for those 2 weeks, even though I won't be away just for that long. It just falls that those 2 Mondays I'll be not be able to run the show. As always, you'll be able to contact me, send me emails, and we'll be loading a whole bunch of stuff on social media as always, and give everybody the opportunity to catch up. You know, I'm actually kicking the option of maybe having one of my team members running the show periodically, just to give everybody a little bit of a break. And it's not a big deal. I'll be back. I got a couple of sad faces that just came back my way. And don't worry, it gives everybody a pause from my gravelly voice, I guess, or my rambling on real estate, and it gives me a little bit of a pause in that, which I need actually. You know, it's one of those rare things that I'm actually going to get away for a week. So that's as good as a week as ever for me to get away. And you know, we'll be back. It's not a big deal. So now that we went through that, I just wanted to mention and to remind everybody again, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you go and grieve your taxes. The time period in Nassau County is coming to an end, as it is in Queens and the city as well. You have until March 1st to put in your applications and submit for a review of your grievance. So make sure you do that. Again, perfect thing that I just put the email in, because if you do want a digital copy of our manual homeowner's guide for grieving your own taxes, we could definitely send that. We could still send you, we still have time to send you actual printed copy, but not too much more. I mean, I don't think I'm going to be sending any more out after this week finishes, because by the time you get it, it might be too late. So if you want a printed form, make sure by the end of the week you make that request to me, and you'll get it. If you want a digital form, I could email that to you as well, and then you'll get direct and perfect instructions of how to be able to grieve on your own. And in addition to grieving your tax on your own, you'll also get step-by-step guidance on how to apply for the STAR if you haven't done so. And you know, we're talking about the STAR program offered by New York State, and enhanced STAR, and et cetera, et cetera. So make sure that you do get that into me in time. And I have sent a lot of brochures out this month, more than I've had in previous years. And looks like because of the ramifications that we've had with not only the change in tax laws federally, because of the fact that a lot of people were reassessed through the impact statement, through the new reassessment of Nassau County. A lot of people are feeling this thing of higher taxes. So if you're going to be doing it, you make sure that you get it done in time. If you don't, you have nobody to blame for yourself, and definitely not me, because I keep reminding everybody about it every week. So, Trevor, you agree with your taxes on your house? Yeah, let's see. And you're here right next to me every week when I keep harassing everybody to do it. There's nothing to think about. Just do it. Okay. Especially if you could do it online yourself. I'm really stressing myself with doing that. Then you get an attorney that doesn't charge you anything until they actually get your money back, and then you do it that way. That works as well. And you have somebody that can help you with the process. So you know that anytime you need something, you can call me up. Yeah, you have no idea how many people have been calling me on a daily basis ever since December, actually. Really? Just wanted to go through it. I send them comps, that kind of a thing. It's one of the services we provide for everybody, especially for our previous clients and customers. It's our pleasure to help out anybody to save somebody. The lower everybody's paying in taxes, the higher the values are going to be in houses. That's the correlation I have usually. But still people are really struggling with the way the tax laws are going to be implementing them, and everybody's feeling it more than ever now because we're in the heart of tax season. We're right around that midway point. All we have is basically less than 2 months left, or about 2 months left, before everybody has to finalize their filings. And it's a rude awakening for a lot of people as far as the way it's working out, especially for us here in New York. I mean, we've been really we've been in a, I don't know if you want to call it a handicap, or if it's just that states like the one that we live in, and California and a few other states, that have to be put in a position to be able to carry the burden for a lot of other states and areas. And it's not right. It really isn't. And it's the cost of living here. And don't get me wrong, I love New York. If I'm gonna be living anywhere in the world, I don't think I'll change New York with anything else, because this is the place that can make or break you. And now, if I'm retiring, it's a different story. I'm like 70 years old, 80 years old, and my body is old and decrepit and starting to fall apart and stuff like that. Then maybe I'll change my mind and be able to want to go to a warmer place, at least for part of the year. But I don't see myself going anywhere for the next 30, maybe 40 years. And that being said, I just feel like we're getting the short end of the stick here. I mean, we're paying more than just about anybody else in this country, between our state taxes, our city taxes, our corporate taxes, or our sales taxes, our everything taxes. So it's just mind blowing. So the fact that we have the opportunity to be able to um, fight or to grieve our property taxes, which is one of the biggest taxpayers we have. That's pretty much fixed. I mean, everything else is based off your income. This one is pretty much fixed and attached to the value of your home. And if there's a way to be able to determine that the value is incorrect on there, take advantage of it. You know, you're definitely going to get the benefit if you're right. And if you're not right, what are they going to do? You know, they already charge you higher taxes. You know, that's the way I look at it. So I don't know, I'm just frustrated with the way everything is going, and I'm sure a lot of people have that sentiment. And I will say this again: if you think it doesn't matter to you because you know it's not going to affect the value of your home or anything like that, you're making a big mistake. Because if you're selling your house and you have 10%, 20%, 30%, 40% higher taxes than everything that's comparable to you, I guarantee you that's going to affect the value of your house or your building or whatever the case is. I got a building that I'm dealing with, a multifamily dwelling right now, that is paying literally double in property taxes than anything else that's comparable in there. And this one is in Queens. And it makes no sense why that's happening. And we're in the process. We got attorneys on it. We're trying to get aggrieved while we're trying to sell the place, and people are devaluing it because of the taxes. And you know, when it comes to multifamilies or commercial properties or income properties, it affects your bottom line. Those taxes take away from your profit, and in this case, it's taking a significant chunk from your profit. So, you know, that reminds me, on that same building, we're actually we're dealing with a water audit because they were overpaying for water and sewer, and you'll get that a lot when it comes in. You might not feel that much in Nassau County because the water is so cheap compared to the city, but when you're in the city and you're paying those water and sewer charges, they sting, and sometimes they sting a lot more than you would expect. And if you have an idea that you may be overpaying, you should definitely look into it and try to see what you're getting charged for. There's places that are getting charged for just frontage fees alone. They're not getting billed on the metering. There's all kinds of crazy things going on. And unfortunately, unless you're proactive and you go after it, you're just going to be paying. You know, and that's what they bank on. They bank on people not reading the bills, just saying, okay, that's just a cost of life, and I'm going to have to pay it because that's what it is, and not read through the fine print and see what the real scenario is. So now you got my piece on grieving taxes and bonus grieving your water bills as well, especially if you're in the boroughs. That's a big thing, you know. Reading an article from Realtor.com saying that in 2019, it seems to be more promising and better for buyers. And for the most part, I want to say that I partially agree with that because more inventory in the market ultimately is better for a buyer to be able to have more options and be able to not be pressured and pushed to buy something that they're not really that happy with, or to buy it just because they don't have any other options and they're put against the wall on that. But the one thing that I will note, and the thing that people are starting to understand, that the way this market is in a lot of sections, a lot of regions, it's almost to a flatline type of environment where you have an ongoing battle of new inventory that hit in the market. A lot of the inventory here in the market is coming in overpriced. Now, what's happening is you have a lot of these sellers that are coming into these markets that are not selling for a reason other than to make a profit on the home, or selling it because they're trying to take advantage of the hot market. So they don't have that normal incentive where I'm relocating because I have to move. I'm relocating because I need a bigger house. I need a smaller house, et cetera, et cetera. You know, there could be million different reasons why. But usually you have a specific reason or multiple reasons of why a homeowner decides to sell a home, other than the fact that we're trying to take advantage of a hot market, and we're putting a hefty price tag and a significantly overpriced price tag compared to what the market's bearing, just to test the market. And you're getting a lot of that. And people that don't believe that, just take a better look. And so you have a lot of inventory that has hit the market and is continuing to go on the market right now. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a live home or it's real inventory, because unless that person gets an astronomical number for their home, more than likely they're not going to sell. And what that does, it skews the numbers. And it doesn't give people a true understanding of where we are and where we're sitting. And there's no study on this. There's no trend of following that, because I've read everything that comes out, and I follow all the graphs. I follow everything that has to do with that. And what is happening is I'm giving the eye test. And I'm seeing this because I'm dealing with the sellers directly. I'm going into the houses that are in many cases under this situation where they're going on the market because they just feel like putting it on the market. And it is affecting the market in a very strange way. Now, that being said, a lot of the stuff that's still priced right, like it's priced right on target and it's appropriate for the neighborhood, doesn't mean you're not making new highs. It doesn't mean that they're not selling at a higher rate than what they were selling last year or the year before. It just means they're going with a normal type of trend and they're hitting the market appropriately. Those houses are selling quick, and there's still bidding wars on these houses, believe it or not. Don't listen to what the media is telling you, because unless you're on the ground and you're actually doing this in person, you don't really realize what's happening. There are still bidding wars happening on multiple houses in multiple areas, but not for all of them. Usually the ones that are right on target with the price and people are getting value for are the ones that are hitting those kind of situations. For example, if you have a house that hits the market and within the first 2-3 weeks it's gone, if not the first week, it means it was a desirable house that was appropriately priced, and the buyers are definitely educated enough to understand it. Now you have the media trying to give everybody the impressions of things being very different as far as what's happening. You have the one school and the one group of reporters, journalists, writers that are basically coming in from the aspect that, well, we're about to get a bubble burst, or we're about to get hit by a decline in sales and that kind of thing. And then you have the other side where they're basically saying, oh no, not only are we going to continue going down the path that we're going to have another surge increase upcoming. And what I'm going to say is there's a little bit of truth from both sides that are coming in, but I'm not gonna waver from my stance that I've had for the past couple of months. Ever since the end of the year last year, when I basically declared what my thoughts were on where this market's going. And we're going to continue going down that flat line and plateau route for a while. Now, what a while might mean is for a few months, and then we might get a jump up again, or we might have that flat line for a while, and we might start the decline. That's not clear yet, because we had a certain point where interest rates started to rise, and then they took a little bit of step back again. And they haven't really been volatile as much as everybody's been expecting at this point. Okay, so that's one part of the thing that's holding you back. The other thing is, even though there's been a glut of new construction coming on the markets, depending on the areas that you can, because I was actually reading the real trends. And if anybody that wants to know valid real estate information and is really into the actual statistics and actually really thoughtful writing, they should definitely read the Real Trends magazine, because that's a great source. I don't know if I have a copy. Maybe if I do have a copy, I'll show you what it looks like, but actually I do. This is what the Real Trends looks like. This is the latest edition, and always a huge source of information. This thing is huge itself. It's not a normal size thing. This takes the whole page up right now, but I like it because it's actually easy read and makes everything come real gent. But the one thing that I was reading on this past thing, and it kind of fits my thoughts, is that in many areas, applications and permits for new construction has gone down from last year. So there has been a little bit of a pullback, and there has been a little bit of a pause from the developers, from the builders. One, because obviously the pricing of acquiring new properties has gone up significantly, and the margins have thinned out as far as what kind of profit you're making. Also, they're being very mindful of not overinflating the market with too much inventory at a given time and devaluing the product. Because here's the thing, you want a healthy amount of inventory hitting the market, but you don't want it to be to the point that it's so much that there's now so many options and the buyer urgency is not there, and the values of places get screwed, because then you have a situation where people are sitting on loans and working with hard money or construction loans, whatever the case is, and they need to unload their property. So guess what happens? They start dropping the prices to get unloaded as fast as they can so they don't take a loss. And that affects the rest of the market. So I'm glad to see that the applications and the permits have gone down. I mean, they haven't gone down dramatically, but they have gone down a little bit. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That means they're getting smarter, they're getting more mindful, and they're trying to taper down the process. And and one of the places that I did notice specifically was in that Long Island City area, and that was the one that was really of concern, especially when the Amazon news came out, because you had people thinking that all of a sudden it's going to be another bull rush in real estate as far as construction, developments, and that kind of thing. And it did hold off a little bit. I have to give up, because it does make me feel a little bit more comfortable as far as the situation. As far as Long Island is concerned, in Nassau County, there has been a little bit of halt of new construction. It's not as rampant as it was even a year ago. So that's good. That's very good. So we'll see what happens. It's just going to be a very different type of environment going forward into this year. I think that things are going to continue to chug along, and business is going to keep going as usual. Just the wait periods between sales might be a little bit longer than what people have been used to in the past couple of years. And that means the general market. We're not getting into specific niche market. We're not talking about industrial. We're not talking about specific type of commercial or luxury markets or anything like that. We're talking about your typical mid-range house market, because every other market has its own has its own dynamic that goes on. For example, if you're going to go into high end, what do you consider high end? $1 million, $2 million. In a lot of areas, that's the norm. Maybe $5, $10 million is where you're talking about, and that takes longer to sell. In other areas where your $500,000 house is the norm, and you got a $2 million house sitting on that market, that for that area is high end. So that's why I'm saying that you have a little bit of a variance as far as the type of markets we're talking about and how they're moving forward. So, that being said, I'm holding pat to all my predictions, and if everybody wants to hold me to it, look at the previous shows that we tape, and I will not hold back from that. But don't take everything that the media has been saying 100%, because yes, there is a lot of truth to some of the things that are being said, but they're not 100% accurate, and you want to make sure that if you're going to base yourself off of statistics, look at the real statistics and make the evaluation for yourself, or have the right individuals around you help you determine that. And this specifically goes out to homeowners, investors, and people going out there. The one thing that I'm going to say is next week, I will get into very specific type of items that are harmful to the market, and we're going to dedicate the majority of the show to that. So if you do have things that you want to contribute to that, please send them to me in advance, or be prepared to make the calls during the show. We're at the end of the show right now. Trevor's about to give me the hook. So I will say good night to everybody. Have a great week. Thank you for listening, and we'll be with you again next week between 6 to 7 on Monday. Thank you. I didn't realize I was running over.